Hello. So in this video, we're going to go over emotional releases. What's happening, like when you have an emotional release from sort of physical contact, right? So in this video, we'll think about punching, but there's other ways to do this. So what causes an emotional release is that your basic structure of being is awareness, which could be thought of as like the bulk of a body of water. Everything that you're aware of is on the surface of that. And so you can project this three-dimensional experience that you're having onto this like two-dimensional concept of, like right here, it's like, where is your awareness? It's kind of under or behind everything that you're experiencing. So you can symbolize that as putting it on the surface of the water, where everything that you could ever possibly experience is a wave or a movement on the surface, and then everywhere that you could possibly look from is underneath that. So everything that's ever happened to your body or is happening is a movement of a surface pattern on your awareness. So if you take that water and if you splash it correctly, you can pull some of that surface down. And so imagine like the surface kind of getting pulled down. Eventually it snaps into a bubble, and that's what causes like a big splash. If you just take your hand and you pull some surface down, it'll explode. It gets ejected back out of it. And that's what's happening when you do like a big jackknife, or if you land in such a way that it actually pulls a bunch of surface underwater. It pulls it so far underwater that it closes into a bubble, and then that bubble has like a reverberation or a cavitation as it's ejected out. So if you interact with somebody or something in the right way, and you hit it with that little snap at the end, the same way that you hit the water with like a jackknife, you can send a bubble, you can send surface into their awareness, and then what was happening like on their body gets pulled off and is suddenly inside their awareness. Normally when you're having like an experience, if somebody takes something that's on your awareness and pushes it into your awareness, you'll have it's observed as a bubble, and then it's ejected violently out. So you'll have like a release. People think this does something because you're like, oh, here's the emotion in the body, and we're going to isolate it and pull it. You know, it's the same as surgery, right? Like if you try and have an emotional release therapeutically, where you take the pathology of somebody and pull it into their awareness so that it's purged, the surface that went in rejoins with the surface, right? So if you have something in your awareness and you want to like purge it out, as you purge it out, it rejoins with the surface, just in a different form. So like even if you do surgery on yourself, the part that you cut out re-merges with the surface of your perception. Like you might view it as decaying, like you cut the liver out and it decays away, and it does, but the fundamental vibration of the surface, as you bring it into yourself, or if you let something out of yourself, it doesn't go away. Right, so you could even think of this as like killing somebody or death, right? Like if you see somebody on the surface of your perception, a person that's the problem, you can hit the whole thing enough that they go into awareness, like back onto the other side. Right, if you hit somebody hard enough, you knock them back on the other side, which is into awareness. Right, this world is on the surface of awareness, and when you die, you go into awareness, and so that's a falling into it. But then when it's release back out, it joins. Right? So any pattern, you could view that as waves on the surface. If you pull it down into a bubble, you've pulled some of that surface down into a bubble, it's become an object, it's become a thing, but then when it hits the surface again, the air is released, right? The air released and it's maybe changed, but the water, the surface itself, just remerges with the whole. And so I'm sure there's some processing that happens. Like if you take something and you shift it into awareness so that it becomes an object in awareness and then is exploded out or whatever, like a bubble coming to the surface, there's probably some processing, some integration that goes on, and some shape change and some fluidity. Right? This is everything from massage. Like you go, oh, your body's normally on the periphery of your awareness, with just a little help, it goes into your awareness completely. And if something's like weird, you just bring that completely into awareness, and it starts to have the freedom to like move around. Right? Like normally when things are on the surface, there's no real freedom to change the pattern, but if it's pulled below into and becomes an object, awareness can like work on the pattern as an object and then re-release it, so that you can see all sorts of different things are cycling like this, everything from O2, CO2 to life and death. Right? So I've seen this most in Systema, where they'll do the wave punch stuff, and you can hit with like an emotion, right? So what's at the surface there, where it's like being drawn down into their awareness at the hit? It's whatever you're putting into it. So you could hit them with happiness or sadness, and then that'll, if you hit them just right. If you hit them just right with like immense sadness in the end of your fist, and that pops a bubble into their awareness, and they feel that everywhere, has a tremendous effect. And this is only good to like a weak-minded opponent, like how a TV can make you feel anyway. Like the punches where you insert an emotion or a feeling state into the person, it makes them feel that way if they're vulnerable to that level of, propaganda, you could call it. Is it the most disruptive thing you could do to a person? I don't know, it depends. Some people might not be vulnerable to it, and then you're just kind of hitting them with, little whippy snappies. Yeah, because if you just hit with like force, you tend to separate separate the awareness and kind of break them, which is like, maybe that's better sometimes. But then there's like hitting into, which isn't too hard, and it's not too late because you're trying to hit into the water where they're feeling stuff. And if you hit at that level, you can kind of insert your will, your dominance, and if two people are totally amped up, they're going to give you that level to work with, because their water and their blood is going to be kind of going against yours. And then until one of the two people gets tired, they don't even really have the option of hitting the structure. That's like the adrenaline rush. Like when you're super amped up, it's almost impossible to hurt the person unless you get lucky. And then once you're tired, if you get hit hard enough, it'll split you in half. Unless you hit right at the water level, and then you're not trying to split the person in half or break their energy, you're trying to hit into the energy, which is like potentially like playful. So when people get like really into fighting, you can spar at whatever level both people can keep their blood amped up and keep their hits kind of aimed at the blood, at the water, so they don't really split the structure apart at any level. But like a liver shot or whatever, or these shots to the body, even if you're not trying to do what I'm saying, it's very easy when hitting right there to introduce a cavitation thing. So you imagine what sort of emotions and other stuff that the liver and the internal organs process or deal with if you hit them with a cavitation, it'll let off that feeling, and then the person just kind of sinks to the ground. Because the amount of despair or like rage you could dump into a person hitting them just in their muscles or their head or whatever is nothing compared to like the lifetime that they've stored in their liver. I don't even remember which side it's on. But yeah, if you're doing a healing session or even like talk therapy, like if you conceptualize a problem, you've enveloped it in the surface of your mind, and so you've created a bubble in your awareness. And then that causes a release. And going from like bubble to extreme event pulling the surface down, it's like if you've been pulled down, there's going to be a release. Big Island Booch. It's the only kombucha I drink. No, I'm just kidding. I drink whatever's at Costco. Any other Costco fans out there? What? Costco in the house. Inkoherent Kurt, they used to call me.